Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Please consider subscribing and check out our Patreon for more. Enjoy the video. Sophia crept up the creaky wooden stairs, wincing at each groan and protest of the old floorboards beneath her feet. She glanced over her shoulder, ears straining to detect any sound of movement from her parents' bedroom down the hall. Silence. They must still be fast asleep. Heart pounding, she slipped into her bedroom and carefully shut the door, twisting the lock with a soft click. She leaned back against it and released a shaky breath, allowing her eyes to drift to the far corner. There, tucked behind a rack of boy clothes and sports memorabilia, was her sanctuary, the big closet. Sophia crossed the room, anticipation quickening her steps as she pulled aside the curtain of button-downs and polos. Behind them, a kaleidoscope of sequins and lace greeted her, an array of thrift store dresses and blouses in bright jewel tones. She reached out to caress a silky lavender top, the fabric cool and soothing under her fingertips. With reverent hands, she selected an outfit and changed into it, relishing the swish of a floral skirt around her calves. She perched on the stool before her vanity, really an old desk piled with a clandestine makeup collection. Foundation, blush, eyeshadow, lip gloss in a dozen shades of pink. Sophia had scrimped and saved for every precious tube and compact, smuggling them into the house in the bottom of her backpack. She leaned forward, studying her reflection as she dusted color across her cheekbones and eyelids. Halfway through swiping on lipstick, a door banged downstairs, followed by the clink of dishes and sizzle of bacon. Sophia froze, pulse spiking. Her parents were awake. Cursing under her breath, she lunged for a pack of wipes, scrubbing away the carefully applied makeup. She shrugged out of the dress and skirt, shoving them back behind the boy clothes facade. Just as footsteps began climbing the stairs, she tugged on a faded t-shirt and pair of jeans. "Michael?" Her mother's voice, accompanied by a soft knock. "Breakfast is ready, hun." Sophia swallowed back the reflexive flinch at her dead name. "Coming, Mom." Her voice came out scratchy. She finger-combed her hair, tucking the longer strands behind her ears the way her parents liked. One last glance at the closed closet, her true self hidden away once more. Then she pasted on a neutral smile and went to join her family, burying Sophia deep inside where they couldn't see. As she slid into a chair at the kitchen table, Sophia's mother set down a heaping plate of eggs, bacon, and toast in front of her. "Eat up! Growing boys need their protein." She ruffled Sophia's hair affectionately. Sophia picked up her fork and poked at the eggs, appetite withering. The food turned to sawdust in her mouth, but she forced herself to chew and swallow, not tasting any of it. Her father grunted from behind his newspaper. "Got a fishing trip with the Wilson boy this weekend. You're coming along." It wasn't a request. "Actually, I was hoping to hang out with Emily." Sophia fidgeted with her napkin. Her dad lowered the paper to fix her with a stern look. "Nonsense, it'll be good for you. Put some hair on your chest." Sophia stared at her plate, vision blurring. The bacon glistened with grease, the eggs a rubbery yellow splatter. It all turned her stomach. "Your father's right. Some fresh air and male bonding will do you good," her mother chimed in. "You've been cooped up in that room too much lately. People will start to talk." And there it was, the chains of expectation and gossip that ruled life in Millfield. Do this, don't do that, act like a proper young man should. Sophia's entire existence was dictated by the whispered judgments of nosy neighbors and her parents' need to meet them. To be the perfect all-American family with the strapping, masculine son. Shame and despair clawed at Sophia's throat, but she shoved them down deep, lifted her eyes to give her parents a vacant smile. "You're right. Fishing sounds great." Her father nodded approvingly and disappeared back behind his paper. Her mom patted her cheek before bustling off to wash dishes, humming under her breath. Just another normal morning in the Thompson household. Under the table, Sophia's hands clenched into fists, nails biting into her palms. Someday, somehow, she would break free of this suffocating charade. Someday she would get to live as her true self, not as Michael, the dutiful son, but as Sophia, the young woman she'd always been inside. For now, the beautiful dresses and precious tubes of lipstick would have to stay locked away, worn and applied only in snatched moments of solitude. But Sophia swore to herself that she would find a way to step out of the big closet for good, even if it meant leaving the only home she'd ever known far behind. After choking down her breakfast, Sophia mumbled an excuse about getting ready for school. She escaped back upstairs to her bedroom, where she collapsed on the bed, hugging her pillow to her chest as silent tears streamed down her face. How much longer could she keep up this act? It was getting harder every day to look in the mirror and see a stranger reflected back, to respond to Michael and he like a trained seal. The weight of her secret pressed down on her, heavier by the minute. Sniffling, Sophia rolled onto her back and stared at the ceiling, tracing the familiar cracks and water stains with her gaze. The peeling paint blurred as fresh tears welled up. "I can't do this anymore," she whispered to the empty room, to herself. "I just can't." But what choice did she have? Coming out as trans in a place like Millfield? It was unthinkable. She'd be shunned, ridiculed, maybe even run out of town. Her parents, the thought made her shudder. They'd never understand, let alone accept it. She'd be disowned for sure. A ping from her phone startled Sophia out of her spiraling thoughts. She wiped her eyes and grabbed it to see a text from Emily, her lifeline and the only bright spot most days. "Meet up before homeroom?" the message read, followed by a string of emojis. "I'll bring donuts." Despite everything, a tiny smile tugged at the corner of Sophia's mouth. Em always knew how to cheer her up without even realizing it. Her support and friendship meant everything, even if she didn't know the real Sophia yet. "See you in 10, Sophia texted back, dragging herself off the bed with a groan. She splashed some cold water on her face and changed into clothes, cringing as she buttoned the plaid flannel shirt. The coarse fabric scratched against her skin, so different from the soft silk and lace she craved. One last wistful look at her big closet and the sanctuary within. Then Sophia grabbed her backpack and thundered down the stairs, yelling a hasty goodbye to her mom over her shoulder. She burst through the front door and into the crisp autumn morning, the slam echoing behind her. For a moment, she just stood on the porch, breathing in the fresh air and willing herself into Michael mode for the day ahead. Pulling on the mask was getting more difficult lately, the boundaries between her true self and this facade blurring and cracking. How much longer until it shattered completely? Until Sophia could no longer stuff herself into the confining box of Millfield's expectations? Shaking off the morose thoughts, she hopped down the porch steps and started off down the sidewalk, scuffed sneakers slapping against the cement. Homeroom and Emily's smiling face awaited, a temporary respite from the constant ache in her chest. She would get through today, just like all the ones before. And maybe, if she was very lucky, it would bring her one day closer to finding the courage to step out of the shadows for good, to finally show Millfield and herself who Sophia Thompson really was. As Sophia walked into Millfield High, her gaze immediately landed on an unfamiliar face in the crowded hallway. The new kid stood out with his stylishly coiffed hair, bright patterned shirt, and an air of confidence that seemed to part the sea of students around him. Emily, ever the social butterfly, bounced up to Sophia with a grin. "That's Liam Hartley, just transferred here from the city." She waggled her eyebrows. "Cute, right?" Sophia made a non-committal noise, but her eyes lingered on Liam as he strode past. There was something about him, an ease in his own skin that she envied. What would it be like to move through the world without constantly looking over your shoulder, fearing that someone might see the real you? Lost in thought, Sophia didn't realize Liam had stopped in front of her until he spoke. "Hey, I'm Liam." His smile was warm and genuine. "I'm still finding my way around this labyrinth of a school. Any chance you could point me towards Mr. Henderson's room?" "Oh, sure." Sophia mentally shook herself. "Down that hall, third door on the left." "Thanks." He paused, waiting for her to supply a name. She swallowed hard. "Michael. It's Michael." The name tasted bitter on her tongue. Something flickered across Liam's face, there and gone too quickly to decipher. "Nice to meet you, Michael." He hitched his backpack higher on his shoulder. "See you around?" Sophia managed a nod and watched him walk away, disappearing into the sea of bodies. Emily elbowed her in the ribs, eyes sparkling with mischief. "Looks like the new guy has taken a shine to you. Better snap him up quick." "Not really my type," Sophia muttered, heat creeping up the back of her neck. If only Em knew why. The first half of the day passed in a blur of classes and avoiding eye contact in the halls. By the time lunch rolled around, Sophia was ready for a break from the constant hum of voices and expectations. She made a beeline for her usual isolated spot under the bleachers, brown bag lunch clutched in one hand. To her surprise, the space was already occupied. Liam sat cross-legged on the ground, flipping through a magazine with a rainbow flag on the cover. He glanced up as Sophia approached, lips quirking. "Fancy meeting you here, bleacher buddy." He patted the grass next to him. "Papa squat?" Sophia hesitated, but the cafeteria held zero appeal, and this was her spot. She lowered herself down, keeping a careful distance between them. Liam seemed unperturbed, turning a glossy page. "I love finding little hideaways like this," he said, voice easy and unbothered. "Makes being the new kid a bit more bearable." Sophia made a non-committal hum, unwrapping her sandwich. They ate in surprisingly companionable silence for a few minutes, the distant shouts from the football field washing over them. "People in this town aren't used to different, are they?" Liam mused eventually, folding up his magazine. At Sophia's questioning look, he shrugged. "I've caught a few sideways glances, mutters about the flamboyant city queer invading their turf." Sophia nearly choked on a bite of sandwich. She'd never heard someone refer to themselves that way so casually, without a trace of shame. Liam just chuckled at her reaction. "I'm used to it. I came out years ago and never looked back." He leaned against the metal support beam, eyes thoughtful. "Best thing I ever did, being true to myself, even if not everyone understands or accepts it." A sharp ache bloomed in Sophia's chest. What would it be like to live so authentically? "You're brave," she said quietly, picking at the crust of her bread. "I could never—" She trailed off, but Liam seemed to hear the unspoken words anyway. He studied her for a long, searching moment. "Hey," he said softly. "I know we just met, but if you ever need someone to talk to about anything, I'm here. Okay, Michael? No judgment." Tears pricked at the backs of Sophia's eyes. She blinked them away furiously, giving a jerky nod. "Thanks, I'll keep that in mind." The bell rang, signaling the end of lunch. Sophia stood, brushing off her jeans. Liam unfolded himself and shouldered his backpack, giving her one last smile before heading towards the school. Sophia watched him go, an odd mix of emotions swirling in her gut. For the first time, a tiny seedling of hope took root. Maybe someday she could be as fearless and unapologetic as Liam Hartley. Maybe she wasn't as alone as she'd thought. The next few weeks passed in a haze of stolen moments and tentative confidences. Whenever the pressure of pretending got too much, Sophia found herself gravitating towards Liam. He never pushed, just listened with an open heart and mind, hazel eyes free of judgment. Slowly, Sophia shared tiny pieces of herself. A wistful comment about a dress in a shop window, hastily covered with a joke about buying it for Emily. A slip of the tongue, referring to herself as she before catching it with a flush. Through it all, Liam just smiled that gentle smile, seeing her for who she truly was, bit by bit. His easy acceptance was like a balm to Sophia's soul. Here was someone who understood the suffocating weight of a secret, the constant fear of exposure. With Liam, she could breathe a little easier, stand a little taller. Sophia began pushing the boundaries inch by careful inch, painting her toenails with Emily's candy pink polish during sleepovers, wearing a soft cotton undershirt beneath her stiff button-downs, little slivers of femininity hidden under the surface. Liam noticed, of course. He grinned at her cotton candy toes peeking out during bleacher lunches. slipped her a muted lip gloss with a wink and a, "This would look killer on you." The gestures warmed Sophia from the inside out. For the first time, she let herself imagine a future outside of Millfield's cage, a life lived authentically, without shame or fear. She should have known it was too good to last, that the universe wouldn't let her have even this small happiness without consequence. It happened on a Thursday. Sophia was changing after gym, shoulders hunched to hide the hint of curves pressing against her baggy t-shirt. Sweat dampened her hairline, the locker room humid with 24 teenage boys in close quarters. "Hey, Michael, I think you dropped this." A manicured hand dangled a lacy blue bra from French-tipped fingers. Tiffany Carmichael, Millfield High's resident gossip queen, smirked at Sophia with calculating eyes. "Didn't know you were such a ladies' man." Sophia's blood turned to ice. The bra wasn't hers, had probably been kicked under the lockers by a girl and forgotten. But the damage was done. Whoops and catcalls filled the humid air, jocks leering and elbowing each other. "Damn, Thompson's been holding out on us. Spill, dude, which chick are you banging? I bet it's Emily Davis, she'll spread for anyone." Nausea clawed up Sophia's throat. Everyone was staring, faces alight with cruel laughter and speculation. Her clothes, she'd left her sweatpants and hoodie on the bench. There was no choice. Snatching them up, Sophia bolted, ignoring the shouts echoing after her. She ran blindly, Converse pounding against linoleum. Bursting out the side door, she collided with a warm body, sending them both sprawling. Strong hands gripped her shoulders, steadying her. "Whoa, where's the fire?" Liam asked, hazel eyes widening as he took in her tear-streaked face and heaving chest. The whole story tumbled out between gasping sobs as Liam led her behind the school, shielding her from prying eyes. He pulled her into a tight hug, hands rubbing soothing circles on her back. "Oh, Soph," he murmured into her hair. "I'm so sorry. Those idiots." He pulled back, thumbing away the tears tracking down her cheeks. "You know who you are. That's what matters." Sophia sucked in a shuddering breath, clinging to his steadiness like a lifeline. Maybe he was right. Maybe she was braver than she gave herself credit for. In that moment, something slotted into place. A decision months in the making, finally crystallizing. "I can't do this anymore," she croaked. "Live a lie. I'm so tired, Liam. It's eating me up inside." He squeezed her shoulders, eyes solemn and understanding. "Then don't. You're the strongest person I know, Sophia. If anyone can handle the truth, it's you." That night, Sophia stood in front of her bedroom mirror, heart in her throat. This was it. No more hiding, no more pretending to be someone she wasn't. From now on, she would face the world as her authentic self, as Sophia. With shaking hands, she selected her favorite dress from the closet, the blue one with the sweetheart neckline and swishy skirt, an armor of satin and tulle. The fabric slipped over her head like a whisper, skimming her skin. She smoothed it down, marveling at her reflection. For the first time, the girl in the mirror matched the one in her heart. "Michael, dinner's ready." Her mother's voice floated up the stairs, the name making Sophia flinch. It was now or never. She couldn't chicken out. Squaring her shoulders, she opened the door and made her way downstairs. Her heels clicked against the hardwood, the staccato beats of a war drum. She paused in the kitchen doorway. Her parents sat at the table, heads bent over steaming plates. They looked up as she entered, twin expressions morphing from confusion to shock to horror. "What in God's name are you wearing?" her father sputtered, face reddening. Her mother just gaped like a landed trout. Sophia swallowed hard. Her palms were slick, heart pounding a hummingbird rhythm. But beneath the fear, a kernel of peace settled in her chest. This was right. This was her truth. "Mom, Dad," she said, voice trembling only slightly. "I have something to tell you. I'm transgender. I'm not Michael. I'm Sophia. I've always been Sophia." Silence. A heartbeat, too. Then the explosion hit. Her father leapt to his feet, chair clattering to the floor. "Is this some kind of sick joke? We raised you better than this." Her mother was crying now, mascara streaking down her cheeks. "What will the neighbors think? Oh Lord, what did we do wrong?" Their words cut like knives, but Sophia stood her ground. This was her body, her identity. She wouldn't let their fear and ignorance cow her into submission. Not anymore. "You didn't do anything wrong," she said softly. "This is who I am. I've tried so hard to be the perfect son, but it's killing me. I can't keep living a lie." "Then don't bother living here at all." Her father's words were hard and flat. He pointed a shaking finger at the door. "No son of mine is going to prance around in dresses. Get out of my house." The tears came then, hot and blinding. Sophia stumbled back, nearly tripping on her skirt. This was her worst fear come to life, rejected by her own flesh and blood. But even as her heart shattered, a strange calm enveloped her. They could take their home, their love, but they couldn't take her identity, her inner truth. That was hers and hers alone. Head held high, Sophia walked out of her childhood home, out of the big closet and into the terrifying, wonderful world. She made it 3 blocks before reality set in along with the chilly night air. She had nowhere to go, no plan, no one. A car horn honked. Liam's beat-up Honda pulled up to the curb, window rolled down to reveal his concerned face. "I had a hunch you might need a getaway driver tonight. Hop in." Sophia collapsed into the passenger seat, too wrung out to question his uncanny timing. As Liam pulled away from the curb, she twisted to look back at the house that was no longer her home. A fresh wave of tears blurred the familiar roofline and tidy flower beds. But there was relief mixed with the grief. The shackles of secrecy and shame had been cut away, lying abandoned on that perfect suburban lawn. Sophia was free. The cost had been high, but she was finally blessedly free. Liam's hand found hers, calloused fingers warm and sure. "You're going to be okay," he said softly, taking a turn that led towards the shimmering city skyline. "More than okay. You're going to be spectacular." And for the first time, Sophia's battered heart began to believe it. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out Patreon for a lot more content and early access to YouTube videos.